Chapter 9, Us. Part 1. Come winds, come change us. Opposing forces, rearrange us. Send our bodies twisting, turning inside within us. Our souls are burning. Strife remains our conscious life that reminds us of our fear, while joy encompasses our conscious life and helps fear disappear. We've been wronged, innocent, tortured, whipping scar our minds and bodies, scorched by coals, the pain prolonged, gentle roots of minds and bodies. We play today in subtle ways. Our joys defeat our sadness. The clouds may say the sky seems blue, while it accents the billowing madness. Getting into the 9th and final chapter, I present to you an aspect of change. How many comfort zones can I dream of in these places where we challenge change in a futile attempt to keep some part of the world constant? Change is the only constant in the universe. I do not have a god. For the next day I may be a beggar. Change may be one's god. Change is the ruler of all things. Change happened to our planet, then to us, and what we are now. Change is occurring to everything all at once. Change wreaks havoc on my mind. I must become one with change. And a poem from Edgar Albert Guest, which helped me along through much of this over the last 10 to 15 years. Somebody said it couldn't be done, but he with a chuckle replied that maybe it couldn't, but he'd be the one who wouldn't say so till he tried. So he buckled in with a trace of a grin on his face. If he worried he'd hit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. Somebody scoffed, "Oh, you'll never do that. At least no one ever has done it." But he took off his coat and he took off his hat, and the first thing we knew, he'd begun it. With a lift of his chin and a bit of a grin, without any doubting or quit it, he started to sing as he tackled the thing that couldn't be done, and he did it. There are thousands to say that it cannot be done. There are thousands to prophesy failure. There are thousands to point out to you one by one the dangers that wait to assail you. But just buckle in with a bit of a grin. Just take off your coat and go to it. Just start to sing as you tackle the thing that cannot be done, and you'll do it. Edgar Albert Guest, 1881 to 1959. I am not much of a stranger to indoctrination. During my first year of college, as I flailed to find myself, I allowed myself to be indoctrinated by members of the Omega Psi Phi fraternity for 12 weeks. Although 12 weeks pales in comparison to the years of indoctrination that the human race has endured. The three of us were forced to memorize huge amounts of diverse information word for word, and learned that we could. If we did not know our information, then bad things would happen. If we knew our information, then bad things would happen. Wearing the same clothes, jeans, Fruit of the Looms, combat boots, army coat, and towel around the neck, running everywhere around campus all the time was nothing compared to the physical and psychological torment that we endured during our secret evening sessions. 12 weeks is usually considered a long initiation amongst members. Near the end of our lamphood, oh yeah, that was comfortable too. We attended the Big 8 Black Student Conference in 1994 as pledges to the fraternity. This may not mean much to you, but what it meant to me was that over 1,000 Omega members would be there and would want some piece of our initiation process. Our big brothers told us to lay as low as possible. That is kind of difficult when there are 3 of you with shaved heads who are very close and running around with 5 Omega members. Actually, 4 of them were not yet official. This saved our asses. These 4 neophytes who had pledged us without being official stepped up to perform an Omega dance in front of everyone from all the other frats that looked up to Omega as the most powerful steppers at the Big 8 conference. If you have never witnessed one of these performances, then you are in for a magnificent display of power and timing in dance. After several other fraternities had performed and the excitement had built up in anticipation of the Omega Sci-Fi steppers, and with us ducking down in the crowd, these guys went up there and messed it all up. They were rushed by about 50 Omega members who were in the front row after they were only about 1 minute into the performance. They were taken and repledged, and we escaped out of there smoothly. Back at the Holiday Inn, it was raining outside. I was walking through the lobby when a man approached me. "How you doing, brah?" "I'm okay," I replied. "You want to be a Q-Dog?" "Maybe, someday. I was thinking about it," I said as nonchalantly as I could after 12 weeks of hazing. "Are you pledging?" "Me? No. I'm just here with those guys to hang out as part of the Black Student Organization at the University of Southern Colorado, now called CSU Pueblo." That is when he opened his coat and said, "You wouldn't lie to me now, would you?" Inside his coat, holstered, was a 9mm Glock. That is a gun. I really do not enjoy guns much, and I certainly was not down for this situation. I was able to muster a few words. "Nah, man, I'm not pledging." He looked at me deeply and sarcastically. "All right, brah." I walked in another direction, thinking that he most certainly knew that I and the others were pledges. Our big brothers were still somewhere else taking who knew what kind of abuse. I went to the room, snatched up Ben and Ken, and we ran outside in the rain across the street to the nearby grocery store. Dripping wet, we called our big brothers. They were not that bad off and sounded noticeably remorseful and resolved as they had paid more dues over the course of the night. We waited for them to get back. Trust me, we did the right thing to avoid some further initiation ourselves. After all this, back at our home campus, it was time to go through and become official. I decided against it. I did not want to be part of this organization. I liked its principles and the unity that went with it, but the participants and what they carried with them, no pun intended, was not for me at the time. I was still too ambiguous to put myself in that position for the rest of my life. No brand on this arm. The rigors and the lessons of that excruciating and appreciated 12 weeks is burned in my brain and singed among my synapses of my neural network. I remember and cherish all of those lessons. I can endure pain that I never thought I would need to endure and memorize huge amounts of information if I so choose. I have no regrets at all, and you may have noticed that I really told you none of the inner workings of the frat. They are not trying to take over the world violently. No need to bust them out. Woof. I have no problems with you. It is your energetic patterns that exist in your head and that emanate from you that I have a problem with, and I wish for you to have a problem with their existence as well. In these pages, I play with you a lot and wish you to know that I mean you only the best out of life, no matter who you think you are. Between you and I, there are a few more things that I would like to express. It is usually the case that one must overcome great adversity in order to acquire great wisdom. This only costs you a few dollars, or shells, or cows, or whatever. The rest is up to you, and some of what you have to do may cause you adversity. At first glance, it seems difficult to change another person's mind, or does it? How we forget so quickly that we have done it for thousands of years. I imagine that something to change a mind would have to be very attractive to that mind and the awareness that is aware of that mind. I knew that I would need to offer some new foundation of belief that carries with it a whole new array of thoughts and ideas on this existence, and that would force us to reevaluate all that we have done and thought in the past. It is always necessary to go back and rethink one's ideas. Like when there is a winner and a loser, the winner needs not rethink anything regarding its performance because they are using what they know to win. The loser is forced to reevaluate its performance or give up trying as they continue to get beaten. I think we know who's winning. The beliefs in gods are winning because they are more hopeful, as untrue as they are. Weak ideas often prevail as the easiest paths and are usually followed. This is a whole new way of feeling the universe and existing within it. These thoughts are to take the place of thoughts once used to answer the questions. Your brain must be retrained as you tell it new answers to the questions. With your eyes open or closed, listen to what your brain has to say right now, for however long you wish. If you listen long enough, you will be amazed. It has many questions and requests of you all the time. It's funny. It will ask you why you closed your eyes. Unless you believe that you are one of its patterns, then it might not be so funny, since life can be deplorable for many people that attempt to exist as a particular energetic assemblage of patterns. We are and see these people every day. Their brains have requests of you too that you can imagine right now while you are away from those people. You may have noticed that the first time I asked you to do it. Anyway, that is where you live, and that is work that you do inside there. You tell your brain things by taking some other patterns or pattern and giving those patterns to it to consider. For example, it says that it's hungry and you tell it to wait. It says that it is not it that really needs food, but the stomach is bothering it from thinking about something else to rule you. You tell it to wait again while you rule it. Are you starting to get this? I love making up stories, and I have some exciting ones for you in the future, but this is not the time nor place for stories of fancy. I have mentioned our children briefly, and here they receive further recognition. They are the universe freshly aware of itself with only their genetics. Their genetics are phenotypically expressed, outward expression of their genetic code, governing their actions until the moment that they encounter us, which is well before actual birth. The fact that there is nothing to remember lingers as they are taught how to govern themselves amongst these humans on this planet and amongst all of our toils to figure out our existence from one generation to the next. Every energetic pattern that we have, we impart upon them. We teach them our wars and our ways. These ways and wars are subject to change. If you ever want to feel like a child again, lost in a world that is completely new to you, do something that you have never done before, or that you have not done for a very long time. You do not know everything, and you do not know how to do everything. You will literally release different chemicals in your brain, neurotransmitters, as a result of the experience. You will smile and perhaps even laugh as your brain gets tickled by new information, good or bad. Learn something new. If you are in a more developed country, then you have probably heard about your inner child. Why did you lose it in the first place? The human race is still in its infancy, and it is one powerful child who flails around destroying all that it loves without being aware of itself, as we scold it for not being aware. You are human, are you not? In short, childhood is the universe very curious about itself. There are many very true dynamics about children that all refer to all of us. Every single thing that children do, adults also do, but in such complex ways, and all the while denying that they are children, only to have someone come around to them and say that they need to rediscover their inner child. If that is what you want to call it, great. As the universe aware of itself, you should get this automatically. Then realize what we are teaching our children and how slow and how incorrectly. Given the circumstances, I can understand why we have such troubles. There are fewer people who care about the very real details of this existence than people who do not care about the position that we find ourselves in, which is grim, if I may remind you. An adult who is afraid of the universe is a scared child, usually because it seems as though the universe has done something to them, and it usually has, if you know what I mean. An adult who is stuck in their ways is a stubborn child who has played with their energetic patterns for so long and relied on them so much that they will kill other people who show them other energetic patterns that contest the existence of the patterns that have been our precious pets for millennia. We have just a few stubborn children on this planet, and many of us live this existence knowing nothing different. To realize that everything is simply energetic patterns, including us, will help you to learn and experience yourself as a fresh awareness in this universe, thus aiding you in finding, listening to, and conversing with your inner child, you. With adherence to energeticism, you are a child and always will be, a child of this universe that is the universe aware of itself. Our children can go in an infinite number of directions just as we have. We can teach them that a big jar of Kool-Aid actually came down from the sky and said, "Oh yeah!" and that he will return to deliver another message, and that we wait for that, and that he would like us to populate the earth because he is always overflowing with Kool-Aid to serve to little children after he takes out their living room wall. There is still evidence of his existence 50,000 years ago, as we have discovered giant holes in rock formations where he would break through into the dwellings of our more primitive ancestors. I think we teach them this already, somehow. Or we can teach them that they live on a planet with 7 billion others and that they are the universe aware of themselves and have a few choices to make. Their existence is usually perceived as beautiful until they start doing things that humans teach them. We have never known better. Our children always deserve better from us and for themselves. They especially did not do any of this and are not responsible until we make them responsible. Then they forget that they were ever the universe aware of itself in the first place and feel as though they lost out on something. So quickly we jump to believe what we are told. The human race has no choice but to do whatever it wishes with its children, as it always has done, and we, contrary to popular belief, are they. I will mention this for you. Children seem to have an awareness, often, that is all over the place. That is because everything is new. Their intelligence is fluid, meaning that thoughts, ideas, and feelings flow very freely through them until their awareness, decides that it would like to settle on something for a while. As children develop, their intelligence crystallizes, whereby we acquire someone more like yourself. You know a lot about this existence, especially your own. We make our intelligence crystallize. We can also make it more fluid, and we do. Crystallized intelligence is rigid and in place and does not question itself much. Fluid intelligence is ever curious. If you wish to feel younger, fluidize some of your crystallized intelligence. Do not do so to extremes. See Buddhism. We are up against a monumental task that continues to be whittled away at. People all over the world have built up their points to such monumental levels as to inflict pain and suffering upon one another in defense of meaningless points, arguments, and flawed systems. Sooner or later, one way or another, these problems will be remedied. Many things are changing and need to. I understand that it seems there are followers and leaders. I further understand these to be things that we do and not things that we are. I am not a leader, but I may do just that. I am not a follower, and yet I wish to follow many things. You are not a follower or a herd animal. You are a human awareness that recognizes these patterns of following and leading. I do my best to lead by example and follow with grace and humility as I exist with both of these characteristics, leading and following. As you may have gleaned from the Answers chapter, I have a few things in mind for all of you as this movement progresses. Again, I can do nothing without your support. I may get a building and practice from there. Sundays should be enjoyable as we recognize some aspects of this universe. I will need to write and prepare plenty for that. Food, music, cooperation, vision, you, and a bit of togetherness will do well to remind us that we are all together in this predicament, spending our time together. No need to come every Sunday. You may need to work or get drunk while not working. This book is my foundation. There are an infinite number of ways that this whole movement can develop. I thought for a long time that I did not want this to be another fad. Then I realized that that is exactly what we are dealing with. Many fads, some more persistent than others. Christianity and Catholicism and all the other religions are fads that have lasted well over 2,000 years. That is why the book is not alone, and neither am I. It is very nearly impossible for me to not know that I am the universe aware of itself. If you comprehended most of this material, you may find it difficult to go back to not comprehending it as you encounter these patterns in everything that you experience. Therefore, everything that I produce will assuredly have roots in all that you see, have seen, and imagined as a result of what you see here, because I cannot go backward in thought. As quickly as I can, I will make this book free. I would love for it to be translated further in its own language and others, and offered at every hotel. Why not? Holidays and songs, they can stay, but God must be seen for what it is not. Changing them slightly would be the best. I wish I had all the time in the world. Who knows? I may be able to produce more than I think. I do not expect this to be easy, but I acknowledge that our tribal ways must eventually change, one way or another. I urge you, think globally, act locally. You've probably seen that on the backs of people's cars on various bumper stickers. So much that we see today, we should interpret as pleasantly as possible, because people often kill people who interpret their abusive reign, whether that be in a home or on a playground, in a town system, in a country, and on this planet, of which we are all governors. Colloquialisms. Please re-examine all of the things that you find yourself saying without understanding why the words and phrases exist and where they came from. Some of the most ancient energetic patterns, thoughts, that come through us from the past manifest themselves as cliches and colloquialisms. Those are things that people say all the time. There are many things that you find yourself saying all the time, and you really do not know why. I want to just say a few things before leaving. That nothing is true that is not worth believing. and we look at the patterns that we've been achieving, the tangling webs that we have been weaving, deceiving each other, old fathers and mothers, perceiving that druthers only lead to more druthers. Discover this sense, this way of conceiving the nature of you and your way of believing. Where does it come from, and why is it there? As you smear up your face and screw up your hair, the nature of you is in what you do, and all that you do is not outside you. Continue, pursue these things that aren't you, and then you can say the victim is you, and we'll all agree to fulfill what you see as you quickly encounter your own destiny. So take all your time, even though it's not yours. You get to be it and its infinite doors. Your soul doesn't soar except in your head. You know what rhymes there, so I'll use instead. 'Cause all that was not and will never be does nothing for you and even less for me. I am sorry your sadness is rooted in us. Develop your madness so you can trust. Disgust may then fade and distrust well adjusted, while now all your judgments are moldy and rusted. I've taken this time with all of you in mind, and now I do find that in yours is mine, defying some rules chosen by fools who refuse to halt their abuse upon you. Want to do something that might be quite different? We'll do it inside of your head. I've said that this torment has been long enough. Let's try something truer instead. But we've wed ourselves to many ideas that have caused so many their lives. Instead of all that, we may celebrate life and accelerate strife to new understandings, and know that demanding these things of ourselves is the hell that we think we're commanding. Ignoring the order to settle our scores, we must start within ourselves first, remembering that life and all that it brings is what happens to us after birth. It's this earth that we crave in, and this earth that we cave in, to begin how we wish this to be. Can't you see that our actions and all that we've done has constantly brutalized we? Your brutal eyes wreak havoc on others who know not of what they speak. And the carelessness that gets flailed around on every day of the week just stinks. And it's so that known factors are causing all of this mess that we see. But it is us who know not what we ought to know best while proceeding so carelessly. We wonder and struggle with our very existence while Hubble descends overhead and watches our end as we turn up the rubble and chastise ourselves in dread. How weird it must be to be you at this time, just reading these words and seeing I rhymed as divine as I could, so you'd know it was good. I did this with all you in mind. I laugh as I write this and love that you know that I've wished this for you since a long time ago. You really can't know what this is about, but I surely can't sit here just wishing to pout about your refusal to give up what allows you to abuse all that you see and in all that you do. You're not quite aware of it, and it's not aware of you, but we are, and it hurts because we still love you. Humans burn holes in the minds of our children, and still you can say that it isn't your problem. Who solves them? Please tell me. I have not a clue, because all of this time I thought it was you. Who does all this work to make our lives better and not feel such hurt when we're not together? Yes, humans are cruel wherever you look. As soon as you pick up your head from this book, I don't wish to deceive you, and I want to believe you. Together proceed to embark, and I'll lead you on a path that by us has never been tread. By this time we must know it's all in our heads. You'll want to go back, 'cause others are there who tell jokes about women and pull out their hair. You freak out. I know your mind will pause quick to check that it read something quite sick. It buries the thought in what it would do if it encountered such a thing, to find it was you. To think that you hoist some great presence over others is exactly why we believe in the sadness of druthers. I can't seem to shake that there's so much to shake, and how do I wake you from infinite slumber when the consequences of this just seem so great? Should I make the slightest of blunders? I'm no stranger to danger. I've blundered before. Helping another, holding a door. This is the door that I hold for you. My thoughts that I've allowed to be sold for you. These thoughts that I thought would be like gold to you. I hope that my thoughts aren't too old for you, because I'm getting older and we're moving on. I'll not be here to see all that's been done, so here I am now, and this is my song. Forgive and correct me for all that is wrong. I can take it, I've taken it, and I don't see that stopping. I would love another day to feel water dropping. For me, not the case. I will not again know my own sense of taste, aided by nose. I come back to remind you that this is what you get. I'm afraid you'll remember that you love to forget. As mistakes are repeated, we find we retreated. Each time that we thought we had been defeated, we actually won, for it has begun, my loving of you and of everyone. Should you in your wisdom choose not to care, then I'll find something to do. My awareness is here, and sometimes it's there, and will remain for a few. It resides in a place that resembles a lake, and things that occur are like little flakes, pebbles, and sand, indigenous rocks, the occasional blown away cardboard box. This is all normal for one who's enlightened, but then there are those who appear to be frightened. When comets come down and disrupt conscience pools, you forget everything that you learned in school. The waves keep on crashing and bashing your mind, while all the while you're so hard to find. You can't outrun waves, they come on too swiftly. You have to confront them and move about quickly. In time you will find you inside of that mind, and you'll see that it's really common. Your rage, your temper, your rebellious ways, you really might want to calm them. But my box here is creaky and the wood is quite worn. The awning that covers it is well washed and torn. You are the ones who have something to say, and far be it from me to stand in your way. But if you think of something that you can't say quite right, just ask me. I'm waiting. I'll be here tonight until I am not. And that's just the way I often enjoy spending a day. I am not relying on the pen to be mightier than the sword. I am relying on your brain to stop creating wars that require the use of either as the brain created swords, pens, and wars, among other things. Let's make someday today. Someday is today. Forget today. Let's make some time now. Change yourself now for the better. You know how. Just follow all the best things that you know and battle all the worst things that come up or that you seek out within yourself. You are better off getting halfway to all the best things that you think and halfway to understanding all the worst things that you think than not attempting to do these things at all. Remember the frog. Getting there is like climbing. You put in a lot of hard work to change your position until you reach a new plateau or resting point. You may stay at that new point for the rest of your life as it seems pretty enjoyable at that moment, or you can continue to climb to new levels of understanding only to reach yet another plateau. We know that going back down can be all too easy. Reaching new plateaus does not need to end during your life, and I think you will find it more enjoyable and feel more alive than becoming complacent with the universe and just waiting and working toward death and non-existence. You never cease to react to change until you do, for what appears to be an infinite future. As stated previously, all other belief systems have failed to unify and deliver something that is actually believable. This should be obvious given the state of the people on this planet. They have failed to give you something that is real and that may be relied upon to give an accurate representation of what we are to expect of this life and the universe that we find ourselves immersed in. Every book has been a life manual. You will realize now that you are the manual. You may further realize that many things inside you are at odds with all that you have come to understand, see, learn, know, and imagine. The patterns that I have included here may give you some relief. This was going to be a postscript until I decided to make it part of the conclusion. I call it, "Oh no, here comes Matthew." A trusted friend and I had such a funny little conversation just moments ago. I was telling her that I was planning the release of Matthew 10:10 when she interjected, "Now Matthew, you do know why the priests did what they did." I thought quickly about the various ideas that I had on the matter when she continued. They didn't want to work. Yeah, they wanted to sit back and tell people whatever and get paid for it. I immediately started laughing inside and replied, "Do you know what the difference between them and me is? I am not telling them what I want to tell them. I am telling them what they have done and what appears to be." "To you," she immediately replied, which was predictable to me. To me, I had to gasp back my own welling. Have you looked at the past recently and all that is happening currently? Our idols are Shaquille O'Neal, Arnold Schwarzenegger, George Bush, Britney Spears, Madonna, and all the other people who put on their masks as we worship and give them money. We even have a show in 2008 in which Americans select who they would like to be an idol. This show gets more votes than our presidential election, except for the 2008 presidential election. Yay. The person who is supposed to be the idol for the U.S. is, today, heavily ridiculed and not a philosopher king as we need. I'm going to break briefly within this audiobook and let you know, as a listener, that yesterday was election day. And I think you know the rest. From here, I will continue. My job as an idol, if that is in fact what I make myself out to be to you, and you perceive it as well, is to break what all those shaman and priests did to people and teach philosopher kings. How bad can it be if I am idolized? Additionally, the evangelists and all the others who push fallacious belief systems have the support of billions of people already when they embark upon teaching their flawed professions. I can count the number of supporters that I have as I write on my fingers and toes. That is why I walk ever so carefully amongst you. I asked her why she wanted me to know that I was headed down that road. She said that she was worried that I would become just like them, a big scammer. Our priests and shaman have never known what I know. I know you have problems with me sounding like that, but please understand that that is how I wish for you to sound, confident in you. You can know what you are, and it can feel good the more that you understand this existence. Simple. So many things flooded into my head that I had already thought about for you. Her questions are only the tip of the iceberg of what I expect from all of you. Much of what is given to me and this business goes back into the people. And what can I say? Money is energy. The more I have, the more I can spread my message. People just do not spread messages like they used to. You know, the messages we spread and how we spread them. One way is the television, and it works very well to do so. There are also radio transmissions, newspapers, magazines, billboards, mail, and the internet, and email, and finally, blow the dust off the idea, books. My book is the backbone to all these other means of communication, not to mention my speeches, events, and charities, and the music that I put out. That is where all the energy that I receive goes, and of course, I will live very comfortably for sticking my neck out there for all of you. The many other famous people that we see every day are also taking these risks. Maybe I will be entertaining to you for the rest of my life, or of some value for a while. Hopefully, and we all know what hope does, you understand energeticism so well that I remain just a messenger who gave you this thing that you forgot about, as I shuffle my 3 feet through the gravel and head solemnly back toward my bicycle, only to ride around this planet collecting messages from all of you to be presented to you again at some later point, some other now. I can't remember exactly how the conversation went, but it made my perceived position that I may be working my way into a lot more interesting and ironic as heck. Someone needs to help us, and as I have stated, I am not alone. I know many are thinking the exact same things that I am thinking here. Let information reign upon 7 billion. And that is the conclusion of part 1 of chapter 9. We now move on to part 2.